The first thing I would say about the padded hurdles, and I know, for instance, when they were introduced, that AP McCoy wasn't particularly keen on them. Statistically, they are safer.
Yeah.
Whatever you say, the data that we've got, okay, they're relatively new, but the horses used to come back more often than not when the traditional hurdles with bumps and scrapes and stakings from the birch. So there were a lot of issues. Why wouldn't Constitution Hill like this hurdle? Just tell the viewers exactly what it is.
The big thing about this is, and I don't know if Clive can see this, but he can see it's just basically foam. And if you look here, you can punch it, you can do what you like with it. It's not actually gonna hurt your hand. But the horses realise that, and if you watch horses school over them, Luke, at home, they literally rub them all the time. Whereas a normal hurdle, a horse will back off and actually jump them properly. Whereas with these, they realise that they're foam, and they basically just rub through them all the time.
So what you're trying to say, in a traditional hurdle where there was very, very little padding, which would have been you would birch on top and just made of wood. When they hit that, they'd wrap their shins and they'd think, oh. So why then does Constitution Hill do what he does?
Well, look, for whatever reason, I personally feel that he's lost his confidence to change his mind. You know, very often with a horse, if you get one who, like him, has the ability to stand off a fair way. Like, let's not forget, when he won his champion hurdle, if you watch that last hurdle again, he took off literally what they consider to be almost outside the wings. So you and I were discussing this beforehand.
Go on. So where will he have taken off vaguely?
When he won his champion hurdle, he took off from here away from the hurdle. Now, if you think to yourself, well, actually, so 7 paces, when you work it out, is literally 1 stride when a horse is going at that sort of speed. So that's 7 paces. He should actually be able to put in another stride, get close, and then wrap through the hurdle. But what he was doing before, and I always feel the big difference when you ride champion hurdlers and horses that go at that speed and jump at speed, you either meet a hurdle long, where you ask them to quicken it and go down and attack the obstacle, or they meet it spot on. When you're riding horses of champion hurdle class and a champion hurdle speed, you can't be adjusting a horse's stride. If you do that, you give away any advantage a horse has.
Right, so let's get this straight then. So where he was when he was winning the champion hurdle, he's coming up from here, and he's getting there. The reason he's getting there is because of the self-belief of the horse. Nico didn't want to come up from where that horse decided where he was coming up from. Now, of course, he's had 3 almighty crashing falls, and in my humble opinion, he's just lost his bottle. It's not, people keep saying he's too brave. He's not too brave. No. He's second guessing himself.
Correct.
He jumped that first hurdle at Newcastle. You literally, a show jumper. Nick Skelton would be delighted the way he jumped there. Into the bottom, popped it, bent his back, jumped it beautifully. Go down to the next, no stride, he's thrown himself at it. If he was my horse, he'd never jump an obstacle again.
Well, look, I think that could be the option that they might explore, because if you see his work at home on the build up to this race was as good as they've seen him do. And if you've got a horse who's that good, it's not a flat horse in the yard at Nicky Henderson. You know, remember, he's had some good flat horses come through his hands. They wouldn't light a candle to Constitution Hill on the level. So it'll be interesting to see if they go down that route. But when you watch Constitution Hill, when he won that champion hurdle, he went that way to jump the hurdle. When you watch those, even the still photos of him jumping at Newcastle, he's going that way. There's no push from the back. He hasn't got the belief.
Confidence. He doesn't.
Correct. He hasn't got the belief that he can get over the other side.
And let's be perfectly honest, and I'm not one. Nicky Henderson's a brilliant trainer. You know, he's far better than me. But to blame the hurdles is to be honest, he'd fall over a box of tissues. He would at the moment. You know, if my pointer, if she fell 3 times in 4 starts, I'd stop her. Because, you know, and she'd have to be retired and be a riding horse. The great thing about Constitution Hill, he's got another career. Yeah. Let's go flat racing with him.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if that's the route they take.
I hope they do.
Just coming back to you, lads, I mean, this is interesting going down this white padded hurdles route thing, isn't it? There's just one thing I remember, though. Do you know, after that crashing fall at Aintree, after he'd fallen in the champion hurdle, he went to Aintree, had the worst of all of his falls at Aintree. He then went to Punchestown, where they've got standard timber hurdles there. And I remember when he jumped the first, he had a good long look at that hurdle and he ballooned it, Mick. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do remember it, and you know, people forget he actually did get rounded at Punchestown. But like you say, Mike, they were different hurdles. I think whether there is something in these padded hurdles with Constitution Hill, I don't know. But all I can tell you is, you know, they don't, when you watch horses school over these at home, they don't school over them like they do over conventional hurdles.
Mick, the only thing I would say about Punchestown, he obviously, it's plainly to everyone that he wasn't right.
No.
You know, so he wasn't even competitive. He wasn't even going racing speed. He didn't jump that at the hurdles there any better than he jumped the first hurdle at Newcastle. Let's get it. Let's be perfectly honest. So you know, I think that you've got to look for an excuse. If he's been loose schooling, he's jumped over fences at home. He's done every single thing Nicky Henderson can do. If there was something that Nicky Henderson could do to stop it, he'd be doing it. I mean, let's be perfectly honest. He doesn't want the horse to fall, and no one in racing wants the horse to fall because welfare is paramount. But it's just quite easy to me. He's not been brave. He's lost his confidence, and hopefully he'll go and win an E-ball.
Well, do you know, Luke, wouldn't we love to see that? Just before you go, you've put your neck on the line there. I wouldn't race him over hurdles again either. But I'd love to see him running on the flat. Mick, would you go that way as well? What are your thoughts?
You know what? I think you'd have your eyes covered if you were watching him running over hurdles again, Mike, if I'm honest. So, yeah, look, I think it's going to be a tough decision for him to make when you've got a horse that good. But do you dare risk him again? That's the question, I think.